Hello and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. I'm Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global, and I invite you to kick off your heels, get comfortable, and be ready to receive the golden nuggets that are shared as you listen in to candid conversations I have with fascinating women from around the globe. Business leaders, entrepreneurs, humanitarians, athletes, and a whole lot of regular people. They will keep you riveted as they let their guard down and open up on aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure success, and what they have learned along the way. My intent is that our conversations will inspire you to embrace opportunities and possibilities beyond the limits of your imagination, because I know that this is where we reclaim our power. I want you to reclaim your power, your strength, and vulnerability, to stand in your truth and propel yourself towards the life that you dream to live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women, Women's Biz Global's podcast. I am so delighted to have you joining me across the world through all of our different social media platforms. And I have a delightful guest today who happens to be located very close to me in Sydney, Australia. So it's such a delight. Welcome to Sherrie Laryse.
Thanks, Annie.
So great to have you on the program, Sherrie. And for those of you who don't yet know Sherrie, you are going to find this conversation very, very interesting. Sherrie is an author, a teacher, a mentor. She's had more than 10 years of working with human behavior in the area of neurolinguistics. She has a great understanding of grief, trauma, psychosomatics, mental illness. She's also into yoga and meditation. I think it's going to just be such a fantastic conversation to just dive into her experience of working with people with the human psyche, if you like, with all the qualifications behind it, obviously. And we're also going to talk about her book that she's recently written called On Path, where she talks about her personal experiences, and she's also gives you some practical techniques of overcoming challenging situations. So let's dive straight into a very interesting conversation, Sherrie. And I'd love you just to, in your own words, just to start, just share a little bit about what I haven't said in your lovely, lovely bio. What's something that people might find interesting about you, just to start?
Oh, that's a random question. I'm a total chocolate addict.
Yes.
And I love stepping on crunchy leaves.
Oh, how fascinating. I tell you
I know,
what, I just love asking people something quirky, because it's just like, oh. Well, Easter's been really great for you because, we have just had chocolate, although you'd obviously therefore not the Easter eggs. You want the quality if you're a real chocolate connoisseur.
Dark. The darker the better. So Easter eggs never cut it for me.
No. And crunchy leaves, oh my goodness.
Crunchy leaves. I know, that's probably not the answer that you were after.
The sound or is it the texture?
It's the texture. It's the feeling underfoot. The sound is a total bonus, but it's definitely the texture underfoot. So summer, those really hot, dry summers, they're wonderful.
See what you hear on Memoirs of Successful Women, everyone. You just never know. Like, we're all into our own little quirky ways, and I absolutely love that because, under each perfect picture is just really interesting human behaviors, and that's what we're going to tap in today. So let's start talking about success. This podcast is called Memoirs of Successful Women. What do you think is one essential ingredient of success?
Okay. There are obviously so many, and I'm sure you could rattle off 10 as I could, essential ingredients. But I think there's one key ingredient that underpins all of them, and that's emotional intelligence. And the only reason why I say that is because in all of your decisions, whether you're making marketing decisions or financial decisions or whatever it may be, any decision is impacted by the way you feel emotionally. So emotional intelligence and being able to stabilize yourself emotionally, therefore to be able to think clearly, because there is something so here's something a little extra that wasn't in my bio that I probably should have said instead of crunchy bark. I'm also a total science geek and am a neuroscience uni student. because I love and am obsessed with the way we are in human behavior. So, one thing that happens in the brain when we are dealing with some big, heavy emotion is all of the blood flow goes to more of the center of the brain that is in charge of our survival instincts. So,
Mhm.
you're making decisions based on, am I going to survive or not? They're not logical, thought through, I've got time on my hands to think about which is the best decision to make here.
Mm.
Whereas as soon as we are not emotional, we think with the prefrontal cortex part of our brain, which is logic, it's rational. It's called the executive center of the brain for a
Yeah.
really good reason. You make executive decisions with this part of the brain. So
Oh.
I think one essential ingredient would be knowing how to process your emotions, because otherwise, even, if you're tired, if you're sick, if you've just had something really big emotional going on and then you're trying to make a business decision,
Oh, shocking. Yeah.
absolutely. There's no steam in the tank to make a good decision or to think things through, and it's just, please make that problem go away. I just can't think about it right now or make any decision because
Quick
that's
decision,
all I
get rid
can.
of it.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
And,
So
it's
emotional
very
intelligence,
reactive, isn't it? Very
right,
reactive when
right.
you're thinking in that way. It's kinda
And
like
that's
that's
the survival instinct, the
yes.
whole kill or be killed, which is why conversations, when they get a little heated, do not go well when people are emotional, because a lot of people go straight to that survival way of thinking and either take down the other person in the conversation because their survival instincts kick in and they get into defense mode, and it's just kill or be killed. They're not
Yes.
great conversations.
But we can train ourselves to be so much better at emotional intelligence. I mean, no one even
Right.
spoke about emotional intelligence till a few years ago, right? It was
I
just
know.
amazing. And then all
It
of a
was the
sudden it
missing
came into
ingredient.
it was the missing it was definitely the missing ingredient. And now, everyone talks about it, but also it's kind of like, people say you've got to be into it, you've got to get focused on it, you've got to sort of, spend more time becoming more emotionally intelligent. You would be working with a lot of people to be able to do this. Is it, obviously harder for some than others. How challenging is that? Or do you focus on the results? You will get these results if you sort of pay more attention, because it's all attention to fixing something, right? When you know that you're not very good, you're more reactive the way you respond to things.
Yeah.
You might not, you have sort of struggles with your communication or your decision making. How do you
Hmm.
approach
So I work with people in my consultation. So I do one-on-one consultations, and I work with people on something that they are emotional about at that time.
that? Mm.
And whether it is, that they're in the moment emotional, or whether I say to them, what is something that is causing you stress in your life right now? But, because that's the emotional. What's something that you're angry about, or you feel guilty about, or embarrassed, or whatever it may be? And we work with that. And what I take people through in my consultations is a different perspective, the ability to see a different perspective of that situation,
Mm.
because we are, as humans, designed to judge things, and we're designed to judge quickly, because coming back to that survival instinct, which is in our innate way of being, that we are designed to look after our own survival. So that also means that we judge things very quickly, we judge people very quickly, because we need to know, is this an environment that I can stay in? Am I safe here right now? Or is the building burning down? Do I need to leave? Is this person about to kill me? Do I need to run? So we are constantly judging every situation.
Mm.
So it's okay that we make a judgment about something and we only see that one aspect, because that's just how our brains work.
Mm.
So what I do then, and I think this is a really important piece in emotional intelligence, because a lot of people throw the concept around, but there's not a lot of talk about how. You've just
Mm.
suddenly got to magically get yourself there. So the how for me is taking people to see a different perspective of that situation. So if there was something, for example, that you did that you were angry, or something, sorry, something something that somebody else did to you and you were angry at them for that, and that was making you emotional, tying up all of your headspace. I then ask them, what were the benefits to you
Mm.
of them doing that? And initially, guaranteed, people say none. It was awful, and they'll rattle off everything that was horrible about it.
Terrible. Horrible,
Yeah,
terrible.
there was nothing good about it. And then so we gently just start by one little thing, okay, well, God, I'm trying to just make up something hypothetical on the spot now. I was so angry, I took myself out for a walk and ran into somebody that I hadn't seen in a while and had a beautiful conversation with them. You know, might be something like that. And then we start that's how we open the door, just something really maybe benign.
Mhm.
And then we keep going until they find all of the benefits to them. And I've had people, no, let me use my own example. I've had people mess with me in the past, and I felt really hard done by. I felt like they just pushed me off a cliff. And then when I unpacked all of the things that happened since then, and, we went into this project as a duo. We were in it together. And as soon as I signed all of the contracts and locked us in, you bailed on me. And I had to do it all myself. And then I realized, hang on, I learned how to be a one-man band. I
Exactly.
learned how to be my own brand and not just hide behind us or a
Mm.
name and that experience alone gave me the confidence to have my own brand and stand there with my name out there representing me. No other facade or, anything. And I learned how to make myself vulnerable. And it
Mm.
is that whole cliche thing of, I felt like somebody pushed me off the cliff. And that was when I found my wings.
Yes.
So I take people through that experience to say, what did you gain from that experience? Because when you realize and when you can stack up so many positives, so many benefits that you gained, are you still angry at that person? Sure, it was a horrible way to get all of those benefits. But now that you got all of those benefits, and if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have had any of them. And then when they look at it like that, and I say, okay, so if that didn't happen and you missed out on all of those benefits, do you prefer that or do you prefer where you are now? And they say,
Mm.
oh, no, where I am now. Okay, so are you thankful for that experience? Yeah, I am.
I'm so thankful you threw me under the bus or off that cliff. That's right. Because at the time, it's
Seriously.
just trauma, anger, frustration. How dare
Right.
you? This was not the agreement. But that's right.
Yep.
Not that you want to wish those opportunities because they are painful learning curves. But that's right. Once you actually do come through the other side, you go, oh my goodness, thank God. Thank God I did do
Yeah.
that because I'm in a whole different space. And actually, the
Right.
person you then sort of lean into and evolve and become probably wouldn't have gone into business with that person if you made that decision again.
Right.
Fascinating, isn't it, everybody?
I
Oh, I
know.
love these kind of conversations. Thank you so much for your personal sharing on the spot. I know I always go left field, but it's just so fascinating. So,
Do it.
therefore, what does success look like to you? For in your perspective, what is success?
Um, Again, this might be a little bit of a random answer, but for me, success is waking up when I want to
Mm,
without an alarm. So I fought against the amount of sleep I needed for a really long time because all of the successful people in the world slept 4 to 6 hours and they were working late at night and getting up in the morning. And, they seemed to have all this energy bouncing around and needed such little sleep. And I always felt really lazy that I needed a lot of sleep. And
mm.
I fought against that and I tried to be one of those successful people until I realized that just does not work for me. And I'm a half-wit without sleep.
Yeah.
I'm just no good. Nothing
Well, it is
functions
known as
properly.
one of the biggest forms of torture, lack of sleep. It's true.
Right. Correct. Totally. So for me, to be able to not set an alarm and just wake up when my body is done, I feel really successful at having that choice. And I've
Mm,
set up my life. It's not as if I don't need to wake up and do anything, but I have set my life up to be in a position where I don't book anything early in the morning because I want to wake up when my body's done sleeping.
mm.
And to me, that feels really successful. If I have to wake up to an alarm, I feel like I'm on somebody else's clock. And
Yes.
I know, like, this is just my own experience because of my sleep addiction that goes hand in hand with my chocolate addiction. So I'm not saying that using an alarm is a bad thing, but just for me, it
Yeah.
feels like I'm locked into somebody's schedule when I do that. So
I
yeah, I know that might be a little bit of a random answer, but not using an alarm for me just feels free.
You're a freedom lover. Freedom is a top value, I can see. And it also is symbolic that if you have that ability to have that as the main thing that you measure it by, the fact that you can sleep in naturally, you've obviously therefore created a life, a business, financial, independence, other things that make that possible. So it's not just the alarm, it's actually, thank goodness I can do this because this is what I really need or
Yeah.
I highly value and I've created a life that can make that happen. Fantastic. Now let's move on to your memoir. You've recently just published a memoir, and I absolutely love this as a publisher myself and someone who has a memoir. So, what led you to even writing a book and then writing your own book?
Oh, Annie, it was an accident. So, and I think, and you would know this as an author publisher, that
Yes,
it's quite the undertaking.
it's such an
And I
undertaking.
and I think if I knew, so it took me, the whole project was about 10 years. It was 8 years of writing. I
Oh,
know.
wow.
If I knew that when I started, I might have just been overwhelmed and been paralyzed by it. But I was at a time in my life when my husband and I decided to have a family,
Hmm.
and it didn't happen straight away. No problem. I started looking at making myself completely healthy, looking at his diet, looking at our household cleaning products, our shampoo, conditioner, like everything, and reduced all the chemicals out of our world, and really pivoted our whole life to be more healthy, sustainable,
Hmm.
environmental, all of it. Um, and then years later, still wasn't pregnant,
Mm.
and talk about emotional intelligence required. And that's where I learned a lot. Well, not learned a lot of it, but that's where I applied a lot of it. And that's where what
Mm.
I had learnt really sunk in and I had to own it. So my memoir started because I was journaling through the emotional roller coaster of hope
Mm.
to getting your cycle and devastation and crash at the bottom, and then hope and then crash and then hope and then crash
Oh.
again and again for years. And I was journaling through this. And I not only journaled through the whole trying through everything that I did, through the conversations that I had with other people, I journaled through my meditations that I would have, and I journaled about all of the meditations that I would do in the moment and what happened in the meditation. So I literally take people with me on my journey.
Wow.
So part way through, that's when it dawned on me that I was writing a book.
Mm.
And even when I was writing it, and I remember saying to one of my good friends who used to live next door, I remember saying to her that I'm journaling my whole experience and it's really helping me to process a lot, because it's one thing to feel something, but it's really hard to process that sometimes unless you wrap words around it and then you can really think about it because you've got something.
Yeah.
When it's articulated, you can break it down. Whereas if it's just a feeling, you can't break down a feeling. It is what it is. So I remember saying to her that I'm journaling through and it's really helpful. But I also feel like I'm journaling for a bigger reason. I feel like this has a bigger purpose than just for me. And I don't know what that is yet, but I'll just keep writing. And I was, oblivious to it, but it did always feel like it had a life of its own. And it
Mm.
still does. When I published last month, a little while ago, um, I felt like it is my child. And
Wow.
that is what I birthed, and I really feel like it has a life of its own, and now it's going out there and it's making its own friends.
That is adorable. So who are its friends? Who is going to be picking up this book and going, "Oh my goodness, this is exactly what I need to read at this time"?
Yeah, so people who are either going through challenge themselves,
Mhm.
and word on the street, the feedback that I've received from people is that the book is quite subjective. So even though I'm talking about my situation, that I was trying to fall pregnant, I couldn't, I didn't, even though there was nothing wrong with us physically, we both got an A plus in our health card every time we went to a new doctor. Um, we didn't end up conceiving a child. And that was the situation that I take people through. But the feedback is that people relate their own version of what's missing in their
Mm,
life. And I think not everybody, I won't say that, most people would feel like there's something missing from their life, be it a level of success
mm,
in business, or a job or a promotion or financial or a life partner or a family or whatever it is. I think a lot of people feel like there's some next goal
mm,
that they want to achieve in life. And my understanding is people read my book, and although I talk about what is missing in my life as a child, they read themselves into the book
mm,
and then go with me into this emotional journey. And then, as I talk through all of the experiences that I took myself through, the emotional intelligence techniques, and I talk through all of it, the meditations, talking through all of it, and you can't help but put yourself in that situation and then think about how it applies to you and your situation. So I even had one guy send me a message, and he's a builder. So this is, obviously polar opposite to me as an emotional intelligence teacher, yogi, trying to fall pregnant. And he said to me, every night when I come home and read the book, it's like what happened in my day, and what you're saying exactly relates to what I went through in my day and my frustrations.
oh,
So I
what a
thought,
fantastic
yeah,
feedback. Wow.
yeah. So I thought that was really cool that it it is subjective. So as far as circling
Mm,
back to your question of who are this book's friends, it's it's people who feel like there's something missing in their life,
mm,
or people who are going through some sort of emotional challenge, and are just feeling stuck or
mm,
weighed down because of it. And that's who this book seems to speak to, and
mm,
really give them a new way to think, a new way to think about life and how to move through life.
mm.
Mm.
Congratulations, by the way, to have
Thank
one
you.
done that achievement through all that you've gone and journeyed through. And it doesn't matter how long these journeys take; they're ready when they're ready. For whatever reason, that's actually not uncommon to sort of like accidentally fall into it or suddenly realize, this is a book, or even be thinking, oh, well, this is therefore just for people who are going through the fertility challenge. Whereas actually, no, you can be anyone with a situation, and also to be able to write it in a way of getting feedback that it's applicable to other people's journeys is obviously a real testament to your writing style, because that is a real challenge to not be locked into just your journey, but to take someone else on their own journey through that. So I
Mm.
congratulate you on doing that.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, Annie.
so I know that you also make a pretty strong claim in the book, and I wrote it down when I was researching, that you believe people have the capacity to find gratitude for every single experience in their life. I'd love you to unpack that, because particularly for your book, and for those reading, and you've now heard there is no baby at the end of the story
Mm.
at this
Spoiler alert.
spoiler alert, sorry about that. But that's life, right? It doesn't have to make
Right.
sense. You can be, yes, I've ticked every box. I've done the list. I've done 100% better than the list. It's not always about that, but you can still have gratitude. So just share a little bit
Yes.
more about that for us.
So all I wanted in life was to have a baby.
Mm,
And I grew up knowing I was going to be a mother. And I remember being, maybe 4 years old or something. And when a 4-year-old gets tired and they get cranky and they get their attitude pants on, I remember when that was me, and my mum would say, "Oh, you're tired now, aren't you?" And it would make me so angry because I think, "No, I'm not tired. Everybody else is annoying."
You can't tell a 4-year-old they're tired. That's not a good
No,
approach.
no, no. And as a 4-year-old, I remember thinking, when I'm a mum, I'm not going to say that to my kids.
Never be like that.
Never. So even as a little girl, I knew that I was going to grow up to be a mum. That was just always who I was. Having gone through my journey, 7 years of trying to conceive, and that gets trying is exhausting emotionally. It's absolutely exhausting. And now, having come out of the other end of that and feeling, I'm going to say lucky that I was not able to conceive. I know.
Wow. Wow.
I feel like that has been such a gift, and I feel so privileged that I was chosen, whatever the right word is, to be the person to go through this experience, be the person who doesn't mind, who is completely comfortable being so open and vulnerable. And honestly, this book is so transparent. Like, I've had one of my friends read it and said, "I feel kind of weird reading it because, I know both you and your husband and it's really personal." But
But
I feel very,
you have to go deep
yes.
to expose
And
the raw experience, because that is a reality. If you're glossing over it, "Oh, it was challenging." It wasn't challenging. It was,
no, it was
potentially
heartbreaking.
it was heartbreaking. It's, and relationships go through incredible, stress, not just
Right,
individuals, but there's a
right.
whole level of, a 7-year journey there for the both of you.
Yeah. And I think, like, everybody goes through their own version of really challenging times, whatever that may be. We all know what it feels like. And
Mm.
it didn't feel to me that I would be doing anybody any justice by tiptoeing around the surface, pretending like it wasn't really raw and deep and vulnerable and emotional. So I unpack all of that in the book, and then come to a point where I now realize, if I had one or two or three little things that looked like me, I would put all of my focus into them and love the bejesus out of them. And, would probably be absolutely obsessed with them, like any parent, well, like most parents are of their children. But because I was lucky enough to be in this position where I don't have those little things, I have decided to focus on mothering everybody else.
Mm.
So I'm now setting up my life to reach people who need to be mothered, reach people who are going through really emotional times, reach people who are going through challenge, reach people who feel like there's something missing. And this book for me is a way of leveraging my own time, which is why I'm also so open, because this book is me sitting on the end of the bed with you saying, "Annie, I don't know what it feels like to go through your exact situation in your shoes,
Mm.
but I can tell you what I went through and how it felt and what I did about it, and maybe that will help.
Mm.
Let's see." So it's me having a conversation with my babes.
Mm.
So I feel really grateful to be in this position where I now get to be an author and reach people all around the world.
Mm.
I started with a goal of reaching 10,000 people to mother. And then when I wrote different articles and it appeared in different media outlets all around the world, and I thought, oh, I wonder how many
Mm.
people that is already. And then I thought, okay, 10,000. By the time you
Yeah,
are
not that
published in a few different, no, you published in a few different articles and on a few different podcasts. And I thought, no, that 10,000 is way too small. And I eventually thought, I need to mother really impact 1 million people.
Mm.
And to me, I don't know what 1 million people looks like. You put them in a city or in a stadium, or, I don't know how many people fit in a stadium actually, but you put 1 million people in one group, and I don't know what that looks like. And it was that unfathomable amount of people that I need to mother to equate to mothering my own.
Mm.
So that is now my mission in life. Once I am out of bed, when my body's done.
Once
but
you've
I am
woken up,
once I've woken up in my own time,
done some yoga, chilled out.
yeah, had my meditation. But
Yeah.
this is now, so I feel really lucky. I am so grateful. And when I do these emotional intelligence consultations with other people, and for example, I'm really angry with that person, and then we unpack the benefits of what they got because that person did that terrible thing to them. And then they realized how grateful they are for that experience, even though it was unpleasant, but they're grateful for it. And I have taken so many people through those consultations since 2016. I've been doing them. And I haven't yet had anybody not be able to get to the end of it and say, thank you for that experience. Thank you to that person for doing that thing to me. So I'm yet to meet anybody to prove me wrong.
High confidence rating. And often it's, even our feelings of what they did to me, most of the time it's their issue. It's what was happening with them. They didn't personally attack you.
The reason why they did it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Most of the time they're just doing their own thing. They've got their own issues. They've got their own stresses and challenges. Like once you actually unpack it and look from an objective perspective without emotion, it's actually the rare time that someone has directly come to attack you. Most of the time, it's just like whatever happened, they thought they were going to do something and their money didn't come through or this or that. They just had to look after their own situation or had their own stress, or someone said, why did you do that? And they trusted their advice. There's just so many levels which are generally not your issue. So while we
not about you.
While we actually, that's right. And it took me a very long time to learn that it's actually going, it's not, when you think something's a personal attack and it's just so painful, so it's quite actually amazing once you start learning, probably.
It's liberating, isn't it? And it's still,
so freeing.
It's still, I think, important that we're gentle with ourselves, that in the moment we still might have that defense rise up and, a knee-jerk reaction. So afterwards, after you've had that reaction, that's your opportunity to think it through and realize it wasn't about you. And whatever they did to you, if you really think that was horrible and you're angry because there was a disadvantage, then look for the advantage.
Look for the advantage and then move on. That's right. Some people come and go, and other people you
find
just
the
go,
gratitude.
Now I've looked at it from a different perspective. I can. Now I know you're now doing more study. So you're so fascinated with this whole journey. You're also studying more cognitive and brain science. So have you gone totally geeky on it? Are you loving it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, total science geek. I'm on uni holidays at the moment and still doing a little bit of work because I'm so fascinated in the way we work. So fascinated. Actually, one of your podcasts that I listened to recently, and you asked somebody what their favorite book was, or a book recommendation or something like that. And it made me think, what would mine be? What would my recommendation be? And maybe this is a little sad, but the first book that came into my mind was my neuroscience textbook.
Because that's your dream at the moment. That's your happy place.
Right. And it's full of so much magic about the way we work. Like, we are amazing. But I understand that that's probably not a good book recommendation for anybody who is not a geek.
Well, I'm glad I didn't actually ask you that right up front. Right. What's your best book you've ever read? Well, my neuroscience manual. But I absolutely love that because it just shows that you're actually perfectly positioned where you should be at this time. And that's what I find fascinating about your journey and the conversations I have when someone actually says, you know what, I measure it because my success by the fact that I can wake up when I need to and I have my life sort of arranged that way. And the fact that you can actually go, yeah, my favorite book to read is the book that I'm studying at university, actually shows that you're on a fantastic path yourself, despite the real challenge, the real grief, the emotional highs, lows, and pits of despair that you can go through, because that is life,
Yeah.
you know. And I think
Yep.
it's important to have these conversations and actually, you know, say, you know, I mean, I'm the opposite. I had 5 children, including 2 sets of twins, 2 years apart. I mean, I am just like,
Oh, wow.
oh my goodness, I had 4 under 2
Super
and a
mum.
Oh, I don't know about that, but like seriously had to be superhuman just by default. All those little people. But with that comes a different level of exhaustion over, you know, whatever. We've all got other challenges, you know, so it's amazing. I love it when someone is able to just share their journey authentically in a real honest way, and then use that to actually go, you know what, if I've been through this, it's got to be for a reason. I'm still going to come out with gratitude. I'm still going to come out positive. I'm going to come out stronger and more empowered, and that's what I can hear and feel in our conversation with you today, Sherrie. And you're a heart warrior. I actually am sad that you're not in my current anthology. I've got a book called Heart Warrior coming out, and I'm like, whoa, you're a heart warrior. You'll have to be
Ooh.
one of my next ones.
That sounds juicy.
Your heart is roaring. I absolutely love that, and I think that you are a true successful woman because you're living your authentic life, and despite the challenges, you're definitely a woman who has overcome and has found a place that you can truly be happy, and you can also help others along the way, which is what we're all hopefully at a level of life to be able to do. So people can easily find you at sherrie.com.au. How easy is that?
I
And
know.
what are they going to find when they click on that website?
Well, at the moment, my book is all over it. So I have some free meditations on there. I have a couple of free courses actually. There's one that is the values determination, and it's just no, it's not. It's 13 questions. A couple.
Better be honest, it's more than a couple.
It's 13 questions to help people refine what is most important to them so they can use those things as a compass for making their decisions in life. So there's that. There's information on the consultations that I offer, the emotional intelligence consultations. And then my live events, which are mostly in Sydney, New South Wales. Pre-COVID, they used to be around Australia and New Zealand, but I haven't picked that up again yet. So everything's local to Sydney and New South Wales, at least at this stage.
Fantastic. And for those who want a reminder of what's your book called, what's it called?
My book is called On Path, which is summarizing, I guess, our whole conversation, is that no matter what you go through in life, you are always on path. And I wanted to become a mother, and I now feel like I am. It wasn't the way that I thought it was going to be, but I am 100% a mother in my own way. So it unpacks the fact that you're not off path, you're not lost. You may need to go a little to the left or a little to the right to find some skills to go where you need to go and pick up those skills, but you're exactly where you need to be.
Fantastic way to close. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And for our listeners around the world, send us some questions, send us some feedback. Definitely reach out and connect with Sherrie if you would love to know more. Check out her book, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. I'm Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global. And if you would like to fast track your future success, hop on over to womensbizglobal.com. find out about all things women's biz, and most importantly, take the opportunity to have a free trial of Women's Biz Tribe. I look forward to seeing you online very soon. Until next episode, bye for now.